All right, we know. Another new launch monitor. Could it really be better than the other options that are already out there? But what if we said it's highly portable, claims to have extremely accurate launch data, it comes with its own built-in golf simulator that does have putting capability, and in the box there's even a separate swing stick that allows you to play simulated golf in smaller spaces.
Plus, here's the kicker. It's priced at under $700 and it claims to have no subscription fees.
And we get it. It all sounds too good to be true, right? Well, that's what we're gonna put to the test today. Okay, so it's called the Square Golf Launch Monitor, which is interesting because I'd say it looks a little bit more like a rectangle. But anyway, in a second, we're gonna put it through our full accuracy test. We're gonna compare it against the Foresight GC3 to see just how accurate it really is. But first, let's run through what exactly comes in the box and how it works. The launch monitor itself is super compact, and inside is a high-speed camera with what the company calls machine vision technology. It's super lightweight and it comes with a battery that charges using USB-C, and according to the company on the website, they say that the battery should last you about 8 hours. Now, in our test, we're definitely getting quite a few hours out of it. I wouldn't say the full 8, that's probably under just perfect conditions. And one of my favorite parts of the design is the built-in alignment stick, which just kind of seamlessly fits right in with the launch monitor, and you can use that to easily make sure that everything is properly aligned when you set this up. In the box is also a remote control, which admittedly I haven't really used very much because everything is so easy to control in the app, which we'll show you in a second. And the device itself sets up to the side of the hitting area rather than behind you. And what's really cool is it uses the camera to actually show you graphically that the ball is in the right position and that you're ready to hit. Now, speaking of the ball, Square comes with a sleeve of these specially marked balls, which work with the camera system to make spin and other numbers more accurate. And you can use regular golf balls with this device. However, I will say in the tests that we've done, we have not seen as accurate a numbers, especially when it comes to spin versus when you use the provided golf balls. Okay, so now if we jump into the app, which is available for both Android and iOS devices, you can see they've got a bunch of different gameplay modes here. And if first we hop into the driving range option, you can see that you've got either a graphic mode, and what that'll do is it'll give you a visual representation with a shot tracer along with all of your launch data, or you can do this simple clean data mode, which shows both your club and ball data, but there's no flight visualization with that. There's also a closest to the pin option, which is really cool. It's a little fun little target practice that you can do right in the app. And then you have the putting option. Now, importantly, this is something we haven't seen a whole lot of when it comes to capability for launch monitors in this price range. And it allows you to set different distance targets, and it gives you basic putting data like ball speed, starting line direction, and of course, total distance. You can also adjust the green speed with different stimp readings, and you can set putting distances from 5 to 50 feet. And the cool thing is that all of these features are included completely unlocked, like we mentioned before, with no subscription fees. But there is a little bit of a catch to it when it comes to the golf simulation. So if you dive into the game option, here's where you can play the simulated golf. And there are 10 golf courses included with the app right now, and the company claims that there's even more that'll be coming soon. The system comes with 1,000 credits right out of the box, which is enough to play just over 55 rounds of golf. And after that, you will have to purchase additional credits, with an additional 1,000 credits costing about 20 bucks. So not too expensive, but there is an additional cost if you want to keep playing in the simulator. And to me, this is a little bit of a sneaky way to charge a bit extra and still boast that the unit has no subscription fees, but I will say that it is pay as you go. So 55 rounds of golf, that may last you quite a while, or if you're just using this as a launch monitor and not a simulator, you're not locked into any additional subscriptions that you have to pay month over month. And additionally, all that other stuff that we just showed you, including the launch monitor, the putting, the closest to the pin, all of that is included. You do not have to pay anything extra. So really the only one who's gonna have to spend more is if you wanna continue to play golf simulation. And I've got a little bit more that we've got to dig into that, especially when it comes to third-party simulation in this. So we'll get into that in a moment. So naturally, of course, you're probably wondering what is that price, and the Square Golf Launch Monitor comes in at $699, which puts it on the low end when it comes to launch monitors that do include all of that launch data. And it is true, it comes with no subscription fees. However, keep in mind, if you want to continue to play the golf simulator after those first 55 rounds of golf, you're gonna need to purchase extra credits. All right, so let's dive into our accuracy test. And just like we've tested countless other launch monitors here on the channel before, we're gonna put the Square through our same test. We're gonna hit a wedge, we're gonna hit a mid-iron, we're gonna hit some driver shots, and we're gonna compare the data against the Foresight GC3. Speaking of which, we gotta give a special shout out and thanks to our friends over at Play Better. This is certainly not a sponsored video in any way. However, Play Better did lend us the Foresight GC3 here that we can use for our accuracy tests. It is a much more expensive unit, so we're gonna be using that for our control. And the guys over at Play Better have been a long time supporters of the channel. They've got all the best launch monitors and the best prices there. They are definitely our go-to no matter which launch monitor you decide to purchase. It is the place to go. So we will link to them. Make sure you guys check out Play Better. Okay, so first up is gonna be the wedge. I've got a 53-degree wedge, and with wedge, one of the big things we're always looking for is spin and also that launch angle. So those are two really important ones that really need to be right when it comes to wedges if you're gonna be able to rely on your data. So we've got both devices sitting side by side. They're both calibrated, aligned, and all set to go. And we're gonna be using the provided ball with the marking so we can get the most accurate readings out of this Square. Let's hit one and see what we get. All right, one thing I'll say is that the Square is definitely quick. It immediately pops up the results, and the tracer line looks similar to what we're seeing from the Foresight. But diving into some of those numbers, ball speed, and I like to look at these measured numbers, those are important. Ball speed is within a mile an hour there. And then our carry distance, we got 102.8 on the Square to 103.4. So within a yard on the carry distance. Spin, the Foresight showed us 9,069, and we got 8,122 on the Square. Here though, we did not pick up a side spin number out of the Square. In my tests though so far, I've seen it definitely get that number, so we're gonna hit another one and see if it comes up. Just for a reference point, we've got 743 RPM left. It was the spin picked up by the Foresight. But regardless, like I said, the direction overall looks pretty good, pretty accurate, and there are definitely some encouraging numbers in there. There are also some concerning ones. So let's hit one more here at the wedge, and then we'll hit a 7-iron. Okay, that time we did get a side spin number. Let's just see how accurate it is compared to the Foresight. So Foresight registered a left spin of just over 1,200 RPM, and this registered a left spin of 333 RPM. So it did register the correct direction. However, it's off by about 1,000 RPM there. Backspin was off by about 800 RPM. Not terrible. It's ballpark, but it's certainly not super close. The great numbers that we do see though are ball speed is very close, within 1 mile an hour. The carry distance is within 2 yards, and even looking at our launch angle, we're within about 1 degree here for our launch angle. So a lot of those initial launch numbers are very good. There's just some areas where we could see a little more improvement. So the hardest thing with spin often is this wedge because it's the highest spin. Let's hit a mid-iron and see what kind of numbers we get there. Again, tracer line, very similar here. We're seeing that ball turning right to left. Let's look at some of these numbers as they pop up here. We've got ball speed 121.4 on the Foresight to 124.6 on the Square, so about 3 miles an hour. Carry distance, I got, here we're jumping a little bit more of a disparity here with 175.5 yards on the Foresight to 182.2 yards on the Square. So the square has given me a little bit of extra punch there. I don't think I've ever really hit a 7-iron quite that far. But spin numbers, here we got a little bit closer than we saw with the wedge. 4,500 backspin on the foresight to 4,600. So within about 100 RPM, and same thing with side spin. We got a left spin of 1339 on the foresight to a left spin of 1318. So very close spin numbers. However, the total carry is what's a little more concerning there. Let's hit one more and see, and then we'll move on to driver. Definitely not a great shot there. I pushed that one out to the right. But hey, it doesn't matter where I hit it. It matters what these things show. And they both showed a very similar tracer line there. Ball speed within 2 miles an hour. Carry distance was better here. So we saw 169.8 on the square to 164.7. So you're within 4 yards and change. Launch angle continues to be a strong point for this for the square. We're within 1 degree there. And spin, again, the backspin number was good. We did not register a side spin number on the square. We got 630 right on the foresight. So really close there. Not too bad, but let's see how it picks up a driver. Driver, the ball is going to be moving faster than it is with any of these irons. And sometimes that can be a challenge for some of these launch monitors. So let's hit driver and see what we get. All right, little bit of a hook to it. That tends to be my miss, but again, let's see what the numbers are. So ball speed, 147.6 on the foresight. That's usually my wheelhouse, or right where my driver lies. I got 150 miles an hour on the square. Carry distance, we got 239.9 on the foresight to 235.5. So within about 4 yards. And remember, one thing we're doing here is we're comparing a sub $700 or a $700 launch monitor to almost a $7,000 launch monitor. So do I expect these to be spot on? Certainly not. It's that give and take of how accurate you really need it to be. And like I said, I'm seeing some promising things and also some things that are a little bit more concerning. Spin-wise, we got 1,500 backspin on the foresight to 2,100 on the square. They both picked up a left spin. That's within about 300 RPM, which is very, very close. Launch angle looked very good there. One thing I will say, I'm not calling out your total distance because there's just too many variables there. One thing you can do in the square, I believe you can set just how firm the ground is, because that's what'll be rollout. I'm more important, looking at always with these launch monitors, what's the carry distance? If I know that, that's far more important because there's a lot of subjectivity that goes into total distance with rollout. So let's hit one more of these, and then I want to dive a little bit more into some of the pros and cons of this system and who we think it's best suited for. All right, much better drive there. Again, very, very impressed with the tracer line. The representation visually looks great on the square. Let's see what kind of numbers we got. So ball speed here, square registered a little bit higher, but it's within about 3 miles an hour. The backspin was very good this time. This is what I mean by this. Sometimes I get really great numbers. Other times, just little concerning ones pop up. But the backspin was within a couple of RPM. The side spin, here, I mean, it's negligible. You're only talking about, it's basically straight. If you look at these, one registered a little less left, one registered a little bit right, but you're talking about a negligible amount of RPM. Launch angle was really close here, 13.9 to 13.4. And of course, the all-important carry distance. So we got 257.2 on the foresight to 245.9 on the square. And before, like I said, we dive into some of those nitty-gritty details of the pros and cons and what other maybe launch monitors are going to be in this range that you should give a look to as well, one other thing I want to show you real quick is if we do hit a regular Titleist Pro V1 without the markings, let's see what kind of numbers we get on that just to see how important that marked ball really is. All right, so like I said, this is just a regular Titleist Pro V1, no special markings. We got a similar tracer line again. This is a 7-iron. And it did give us a backspin number, which is good. So it's not like you get 0 spin without those markings. However, here we're off by just right on the nose, about 1,000 RPM. We did not register a side spin number, which occasionally we didn't get even with the provided ball. Ball speed though was great. It was right on again. Launch angle was within 0.8 degrees, so really good there. Carry distance was within 1 yard overall. So really, it's not like it's a dramatic difference, especially we've hit quite a few testing this out, in preparing for this video. And one thing I'll say is it's not just single shots, it's hitting a lot of shots. I noticed more variability in the spin when you're not using the provided ball. However, like I said, just to be safe, if you really want the most accuracy you can out of this unit, use the provided golf balls. That would definitely be my suggestion. All right, so we looked at the features and we did a quick accuracy test. So let's talk about some of the pros and the cons of the Square Golf, and we'll start with the cons. And the first one that just kind of jumps out at me is that there's no option at the moment for any third-party connectivity. So a lot of the other launch monitors we've tested have been able to integrate with things like E6 or Awesome Golf. So if you're not loving the built-in simulator with some of these other launch monitors, you're able to connect it to a third party. And of course, there's licensing costs and things like that that go with that, so it can add to the total spend. But it's just something to consider if for any reason you're not loving the built-in simulation that comes with Square. At the moment, there's no option to integrate it with third-party software. And the other thing is this swing stick that comes with it. I would say overall, just really not very useful. First of all, in using it, the numbers just don't seem right. They don't pass that sniff test. I was getting driving carry distances of over 300 yards, which as you saw with my driver is something that I rarely, if ever, reach. So not super accurate. And I would imagine if you're getting a launch monitor like this, you're getting one so that you can hit balls. There are a lot of much less expensive options out there that you can use if you aren't able to hit golf balls and you want to use a super compact system. So here, I would much rather see Square just kind of leave this out and maybe even drop the overall price by 50 bucks. I think that might be the smarter play because realistically, I think anyone who's buying this is probably not really using the swing stick. And the other thing we gotta talk about, of course, is accuracy. So as you just saw, we get some great numbers sometimes. We saw some really great ball speed numbers, launch angle, launch direction, even our carry distance was very close on a lot of the shots. But then every once in a while, we get a couple of concerning numbers. But you gotta speak of it relatively. Look, if you're someone who's looking at this versus maybe Mevo Plus, which is 3 times the price, maybe there you're thinking, well, the trade-off is I'm getting this at 1/3 of the cost, and I'm willing to give up a little bit of accuracy. But also in that conversation is something like the Rapsodo MLM2 Pro, which we've extensively tested, and I'll link to those videos as well so that you can go and check those out. Here, you've got a device that comes in right at the same price and was much more accurate than the Square that we just tested. However, keep in mind, the Rapsodo does have a subscription fee to unlock all of the ball data numbers and that simulation. So you will end up paying a little bit more. But there are other features to weigh as well, including the fact that the Rapsodo comes with 2 built-in cameras and a couple of other extras that you just don't get with the Square Golf. So you really have to understand what's your budget, what's your tolerance of subscription versus overall accuracy and how important that is to you, because I would say head to head, at least right now, the Rapsodo MLM2 Pro is definitely more accurate. And of course, we can't leave it there without talking about some of the pros, and I think the biggest one here is the overall value of the price. Like I said, you get a whole lot in the box for under $700, and there's no subscription fees for that all-important, data that we're getting with the driving range feature, and also the putting, which you don't get with a lot of other launch monitors, especially in this price range. So there is quite a bit of value there, and remember, you're only spending anything additional after those 55 rounds of golf if you want to keep playing, and even at that, it's not too expensive. So not a lot of hidden costs or additional fees with this, and you do get a fairly solid unit that, as we've shown here, is pretty accurate. Additionally, we found the interface to be super clean and easy to use. There's not a whole lot of frills, and I would imagine the app will get updates over time, but it was easy to use, super simple to connect, and because it uses Bluetooth, one thing I can say for certain is that connection is just rock solid. So far, in the multiple days we've been testing this, we haven't had even one time where the unit got disconnected from the app. So if you're looking for something that's just really, really simple and you don't mind that it's missing maybe some of the other visual or other frills that you might get, especially like I said with those third-party integrations, then it's definitely something that's a check in the pro column. So of course, we have to answer the question that we always do in these videos of just saying, who really is this launch monitor best suited for? And I would say, if you're somebody that absolutely cannot stomach the idea of paying a subscription fee, then you've got to give this Square Golf launch monitor a look, because out of the box you get a whole lot, and most of the other launch monitors that are out there are going to require some sort of subscription fee if you want to unlock all of the features. Here you get everything for that price tag right around $700. However, keep in mind, if you continue to play the golf simulation, you will have to pay for some additional credit. So overall, I think it's an exciting additional entry. This is brand new, just launched. We were able to get our hands on it and get it tested right away. And like I said, I think over time, we may see some updates. Maybe we even see some improvements to the app. Maybe we even see a little bit more accuracy as they work through the fine tuning as this thing kind of matures over time. But regardless, it's an exciting one to see. I would love to hear your own thoughts and questions, so drop them in the comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.